chosen one, the wealth you didn't see coming is about to find you. Have you ever had the quiet feeling that something is shifting, even though nothing around you looks different yet? Not louder success, not sudden attention, just a subtle change in the air, like life is preparing something behind the scenes. If you've been sensing that lately, this message may be meant for you, because sometimes the greatest forms of wealth don't arrive with noise or warning. They appear quietly, almost gently, after a long season where it felt like nothing was happening at all. And strangely enough, that quiet season might have been the preparation. Many people chase wealth through constant movement, endless effort, and visible achievements. But for some individuals, especially those walking a deeper path, life works differently. Your growth often happened in silence. While others were celebrating visible milestones, you were learning invisible lessons: patience, discernment, emotional resilience. There were moments when you probably questioned the process. Why were certain doors closing? Why did opportunities disappear just when things seemed promising? Why did some relationships fade without explanation? At the time, it may have felt like loss, but looking back now, you may realize something important. Those moments were quietly redirecting your path. Sometimes what looks like delay is actually protection. Sometimes what feels like a setback is life gently moving you away from situations that would have drained your future energy. And that's where this message becomes interesting, because the kind of wealth that's approaching you might not look like what you expected before. For some people, wealth arrives as money or opportunities. For others, it shows up as clarity, freedom, or the right connections at the right moment. But here's something many people overlook. Real abundance tends to find people who stopped chasing it in desperation. People who learned how to move through life with awareness rather than urgency. Think about the past few years of your life. You've likely grown in ways that no one else fully saw. You learned how to step back from situations that once consumed you. You began protecting your energy. You started valuing peace over chaos. That shift alone changes the direction of your entire future. Because when someone develops inner stability, opportunities begin recognizing them. Not because they forced things to happen, but because they became ready to receive what was already meant for them. And readiness is a powerful thing. Many people want sudden success, but they're not emotionally prepared for the responsibility that comes with it. You, however, may have been slowly building that readiness without even realizing it. Every challenge taught you something valuable. Every period of uncertainty strengthened your intuition. Every time you chose patience instead of reacting impulsively, you were shaping the person who could eventually hold greater blessings without losing balance. That's why the wealth approaching you might feel unexpected. It may arrive through an opportunity you didn't see coming. A new path opening where you once saw only limitations, or even a simple conversation that leads to something far greater than it initially appears. Life has a curious way of doing that. The right moment rarely announces itself loudly. Instead, it appears quietly, almost casually, as if it had always been waiting nearby. And suddenly you realize that the years of preparation were not wasted. They were aligning you with the moment that could finally move your life forward. But here's something important to understand. The wealth meant for you may not only be financial. It could be a deeper sense of purpose. It could be the freedom to live more honestly, without constantly trying to meet expectations that never felt right for you. It could be relationships that actually support your growth instead of draining your energy. Because true wealth has layers. Money can provide comfort, but clarity gives direction, peace gives stability, and purpose gives meaning. When those things come together, life begins to feel very different. You start noticing opportunities that you would have overlooked before. You begin trusting your inner guidance instead of constantly doubting yourself. And the strange thing is, others may suddenly notice a change in you as well. Not because you're trying to stand out, but because calm confidence carries a different kind of presence. People can feel when someone has gone through deep inner growth. It shows in the way they speak, the way they listen, and the way they handle situations that once would have created stress. And sometimes that quiet strength opens doors you didn't even know existed. So if life has felt slow recently, if progress seemed invisible, if it felt like you were walking alone while others moved ahead, consider the possibility that your path was simply unfolding at a different rhythm. Some journeys require time, not because you were falling behind, but because what's meant for you needed the right foundation. And now something interesting may be beginning to happen. Small signs, subtle changes, unexpected ideas or opportunities appearing where there was once silence. These moments might seem ordinary at first, but sometimes the beginning of a new chapter looks exactly like that, quiet and easy to overlook. So stay present, stay open, because the wealth that's meant for you may already be moving closer, not as a sudden miracle, but as the natural result of everything you've quietly become. And when it finally arrives, you may realize something surprising. It didn't appear out of nowhere. It was slowly finding its way to you all along. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on your own journey. And if you feel drawn to conversations like this about growth, purpose, and the deeper meaning behind life's changes, consider staying connected with the Born into Light community. Sometimes the most powerful transformations begin with a simple moment of awareness, and sometimes that moment is happening right now. If this message resonates with your journey, take a quiet moment to write "I welcome this abundance" in the comments below. And if you feel connected to this space, you're always welcome to subscribe to Born into Light and gently like the video so this message can reach others walking a similar path. And there is another layer to this that many people do not talk about, because the wealth that finds you after a long inner journey often carries a very different feeling than the wealth people chase out of urgency or fear. It feels calmer. It does not arrive with the chaotic energy of proving something to the world or trying to finally feel enough. Instead, it feels more like something settling into place, as if life is quietly acknowledging the path you walked when very few people understood what you were going through. Think about how many times you chose growth when it would have been easier to stay comfortable. There were moments when you walked away from situations that looked good on the outside but did not feel right in your spirit. And at the time, those decisions probably confused people around you, because from their perspective, you were letting go of opportunities, connections, or environments that seemed perfectly fine. But deep down, you sensed something they could not see. You understood that certain paths, even if they promised quick rewards, would eventually cost you your peace, your authenticity, or the deeper purpose you were slowly discovering within yourself. And that level of awareness changes everything. Because when someone learns how to listen to that quiet inner guidance instead of the loud expectations of the world, their life begins aligning with opportunities that truly belong to them, rather than opportunities that only look impressive on the surface. That is often the moment when unexpected forms of wealth begin entering the picture. Not because the universe suddenly decided to reward you overnight, but because you gradually became someone who could recognize and receive the right opportunities when they finally appeared. You may not realize it yet, but your perspective has already shifted in ways that make you different from who you were years ago. You are more patient. You are more observant. You notice patterns in people and situations that you once overlooked. And perhaps most importantly, you no longer feel the same urgency to chase every opportunity that passes by. Instead, you move with a certain quiet discernment. You allow things to reveal themselves. You observe before committing. You trust your inner sense of timing more than the pressure of the outside world. That kind of awareness is rare. And strangely enough, it tends to attract the very things that people spend years chasing in the wrong way. Because when someone is no longer desperate for outcomes, their decisions become clearer. They choose wisely. They avoid situations that drain their energy. They place their focus only where something meaningful can actually grow. And that is often when life begins placing the right resources, people, and opportunities in front of them. It might start with something small, a conversation that sparks an idea you had never considered before, a project that suddenly gains attention without you forcing it. A new connection that opens a door you had never even imagined knocking on. At first, these moments may feel almost random, but when you step back and look at the bigger picture, you begin noticing a pattern forming. Things that once felt blocked begin flowing more naturally. The right people seem to appear at the right time. Opportunities arrive in ways that feel aligned instead of forced. And slowly, almost quietly, the kind of wealth you once wondered about begins entering your life in ways that feel both surprising and deeply natural. Not because you chased it relentlessly, but because you grew into the person who could receive it without losing yourself. That is an important distinction. Many people gain wealth but lose their sense of direction in the process. They become overwhelmed by expectations, pressure, and the constant need to maintain an image that does not reflect who they truly are. But the wealth that comes after a period of deep inner growth carries a different energy. It supports your life rather than consuming it. It expands your possibilities rather than trapping you in endless obligations. And perhaps most importantly, it allows you to live with greater authenticity. You begin making choices that reflect who you truly are, instead of who the world expects you to be. You start shaping your environment around your values, instead of constantly adjusting yourself to fit into spaces that were never designed for your spirit. That is the kind of wealth many people spend their entire lives searching for without realizing it. Because real abundance is not just about having more. It is about living in alignment with what genuinely matters to you. It is about waking up each day feeling a quiet sense of clarity rather than confusion about where your life is heading. It is about knowing that the path you are walking reflects your inner truth rather than the expectations of others. And when someone reaches that point, something interesting begins happening. The world starts responding differently to them. People sense their calm confidence. Opportunities recognize their readiness. Life begins opening doors that once seemed permanently closed. Not because luck suddenly changed, but because the person standing in front of those doors is no longer the same person who stood there before. You have grown. You have evolved. You have learned how to move through uncertainty without losing yourself. And that kind of transformation rarely goes unnoticed by life. So if you feel that subtle shift happening right now, if you sense that something new is quietly approaching even though you cannot fully see it yet, trust that feeling. Because sometimes the most meaningful chapters of our lives begin long before the visible evidence appears. They begin with an inner knowing, a quiet sense that the long season of preparation may finally be giving way to a season of unexpected arrival. And when that moment unfolds, you may realize that the wealth you once imagined was only a small part of the story. What was truly finding you all along was a life that finally reflects who you were always meant to become. What makes this moment even more meaningful is the quiet realization that the things you once prayed for, wondered about, or hoped might someday appear in your life are no longer distant possibilities floating somewhere far in the future, but slowly becoming real circumstances that begin unfolding around you in ways that feel almost surreal, as if life itself has been patiently organizing pieces behind the curtain for much longer than you realized. There was a time when you questioned whether your efforts, your patience, and your willingness to grow through uncomfortable experiences were actually leading anywhere meaningful. Because from the outside, it often looked like other people were moving forward faster, gaining recognition sooner, or reaching milestones that seemed to take you much longer to approach. And yet what you could not see at that time was the deeper architecture of your life being built quietly beneath the surface. Some journeys are not meant to be rushed. They require a foundation that cannot be formed through shortcuts or quick victories, because the path ahead involves responsibilities, opportunities, and influence that would have been overwhelming if they had arrived too early. In many ways, your life has been teaching you how to carry success without losing your center. You were learning how to remain grounded even when circumstances felt uncertain. You were discovering how to trust your inner voice even when external validation was absent. You were practicing resilience during moments when it seemed like no one was watching the effort you were putting into becoming a stronger, wiser, and more aware version of yourself. But life was watching, and more importantly, life was responding. Because every time you chose patience instead of panic, reflection instead of reaction, and growth instead of bitterness, you were quietly strengthening something within you that would eventually become the exact quality needed for the next chapter of your life. That is why the wealth approaching you may feel strangely different from the images of success that society often promotes. It may not appear as a dramatic overnight transformation that suddenly turns your entire life upside down. Instead, it may unfold gradually but powerfully, like a series of doors opening in places where you once saw only blank walls. You might notice opportunities beginning to align with your natural abilities. Ideas that once seemed uncertain may suddenly gain clarity. People may begin recognizing something in you that they had not noticed before. And through all of this, there will likely be a quiet sense of understanding within you that these changes are not random accidents. They are the natural continuation of everything you have been becoming over time. Because wealth in its deepest form is not simply about receiving something new. It is about the moment when your inner development finally meets the external opportunities that reflect it. And when those two things align, life begins moving with a rhythm that feels almost effortless compared to the struggle of earlier seasons. This does not mean challenges will disappear completely. Every meaningful journey continues to include moments that require courage, patience, and wisdom. But the difference now is that you carry those qualities within you in a much deeper way than before. You no longer feel lost in uncertainty the way you once did. You have learned how to navigate complexity without immediately assuming the worst. You understand that not every delay is a rejection, and not every difficulty is a sign that you are on the wrong path. In fact, some of the most valuable opportunities appear only after a period of confusion that forces us to look beyond our old expectations. And this may be exactly where you are standing now, right at the edge of a shift that is still forming, a moment where the past version of your life is quietly closing behind you, while the next version is preparing to reveal itself in ways that may surprise even you. The wealth that is finding its way toward you may include financial growth, new opportunities, or doors that expand your ability to live with greater freedom and security. But it will likely include something even more powerful, a deeper sense of alignment between who you are and the life you are creating. Because when someone reaches that point, success begins to feel less like a destination and more like a natural extension of the person they have become. You begin moving through life with quiet confidence rather than constant doubt. You trust your decisions because they are guided by experience and awareness rather than pressure or comparison. And perhaps most importantly, you start recognizing that the journey itself has already transformed you into someone capable of creating abundance in many different forms. So when the unexpected wealth finally arrives, it will not feel like something foreign entering your life. It will feel like something that has been moving toward you for a very long time, patiently waiting for the moment when your inner readiness and the outer opportunity could finally meet. And when that moment unfolds, you may find yourself reflecting on the path that brought you here with a sense of gratitude that you could not have imagined during the earlier chapters, because you will understand that the delays had meaning, the lessons had purpose, and the quiet growth that happened when no one else noticed was actually shaping the exact life that is beginning to open in front of you now. So remain aware of the subtle changes happening around you. Pay attention to the opportunities that feel aligned with your deeper values. Trust the calm sense of direction that has been growing within you, because sometimes the most remarkable chapters of our lives begin not with loud announcements or dramatic turning points, but with a quiet realization that everything we once wondered about is finally beginning to find its way home to us. And as this realization begins to settle deeper within you, there may come a quiet moment where you look back at the path you have traveled and suddenly understand that many of the things you once saw as obstacles were actually shaping your direction in ways you could not have understood while you were living through them. Because there were seasons when life felt uncertain, when progress seemed invisible, and when it appeared that the energy you were investing into becoming a better, wiser, more aware version of yourself was not producing the kind of results the world usually celebrates. There may have been times when you felt like you were walking through a long hallway without windows, continuing forward even though you could not yet see where the door at the end might lead. But something inside you kept moving, not loudly, not with dramatic certainty. Just a quiet inner pull that told you there was still meaning in continuing the journey even when the destination was unclear. That quiet determination is something very few people truly develop. Many people change direction the moment things become confusing or slow because the modern world has trained us to expect immediate proof that our efforts are leading somewhere worthwhile. Yet the most meaningful transformations rarely follow that kind of timeline. They unfold slowly, layer by layer, often beyond the visible surface of our daily lives, and that may be exactly what has been happening for you. While the outer world seemed quiet or unchanged, something deeper was forming within you. Your perspective was expanding. Your understanding of people was becoming more refined. You were learning the difference between noise and genuine guidance, between temporary excitement and lasting alignment. Those lessons do not arrive in dramatic flashes. They grow quietly through experience, through moments when you had to trust your intuition even when others doubted it, through situations where you chose integrity even when it would have been easier to compromise, through decisions where you walked away from what looked comfortable because something deeper inside you knew that comfort alone was not the life you were meant to build. And now, standing where you are today, there may be a subtle but powerful shift beginning to take shape. You may start noticing that the same patience which once felt like waiting is now becoming clarity. The same resilience that carried you through uncertain times is now becoming confidence. The same inner awareness that once made you feel different from others is now guiding you toward opportunities that actually reflect who you are. This is often how unexpected wealth begins entering someone's life. Not as a random gift, but as a natural meeting point between personal growth and external possibility. Because when someone has spent years developing awareness, patience, emotional strength, and clarity about what truly matters, they begin recognizing opportunities that other people might overlook or misunderstand. They see potential where others see risk. They notice alignment where others see coincidence. And they have the calmness to move forward with thoughtful intention instead of rushing into decisions out of fear or urgency. That calm presence is powerful. It allows you to move through situations with a clarity that attracts the right people, the right ideas, and the right opportunities at the moments when they can truly grow. And sometimes, when you look back after several months, or even years, you realize that the wealth which eventually entered your life did not arrive as one single dramatic moment. It appeared through a series of aligned steps, a decision that led to a connection, a conversation that led to a possibility that slowly expanded into something far greater than you originally imagined. That is often the quiet rhythm of meaningful abundance. It grows from awareness. It expands through alignment, and it becomes visible only after the person walking the path has developed the inner steadiness required to handle what is unfolding. Which means the very qualities you were developing during your most uncertain moments may now be the exact reasons why the opportunities approaching you will feel stable rather than overwhelming. You will recognize what belongs in your life. You will understand which doors are worth opening and which ones are simply distractions. You will move forward not with desperation, but with calm purpose. And that kind of movement changes the entire experience of success. Because when wealth arrives in alignment with who you truly are, it becomes something that supports your life rather than something that controls it. It gives you space to create, space to think clearly, space to build a life that reflects the values and insights you have gained along your journey. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this moment is realizing that the path you walked was never random. Every step carried meaning. Every delay carried a lesson. Every quiet season was preparing the ground for something that could not have grown earlier. So if you feel that subtle shift in your life right now, if there is a quiet sense that something new is beginning to take shape, even though the full picture has not yet appeared, allow yourself to trust that feeling. Because sometimes life begins rewarding the quiet work we did in silence long before the world ever notices the results. And sometimes the wealth we did not see coming is simply the natural result of becoming the person we were always meant to be, one patient step at a time, until the moment arrives when everything finally begins to move forward with a clarity that once felt impossible to imagine. And when that clarity begins to unfold, it often arrives with a surprising sense of calm rather than excitement. Because deep down you recognize that what is happening now is not something sudden or random, but the quiet result of everything you have been learning, unlearning, and becoming over a long stretch of time that most people around you may never fully understand. There were seasons when you felt like you were being reshaped by life itself. Moments when familiar patterns started dissolving and the things that once felt certain began to lose their meaning, leaving you standing in spaces that felt unfamiliar and sometimes even uncomfortable. During those moments, it may have seemed as though life was taking more away than it was giving. Opportunities faded, connections shifted, certain plans you once believed in no longer felt aligned with who you were becoming. And naturally, that kind of transition can make anyone wonder if they are moving forward or simply drifting away from the life they once expected. But what you could not fully see in those moments was the quiet intelligence behind those changes. Because sometimes life must gently remove the structures that once defined us so that something more authentic can begin to take shape. It clears space. It rearranges priorities. It challenges the identities we built around expectations that were never truly ours. And in that clearing process, a new foundation begins forming. A foundation built not on external pressure or comparison, but on self-awareness, clarity, and a deeper understanding of what truly resonates with your spirit. That foundation is powerful. It changes the way you approach decisions. It alters the kinds of environments you feel comfortable in. It even shifts the way opportunities begin appearing in your life. Because when someone is aligned with themselves, the path ahead becomes clearer. Not necessarily easier, but more meaningful. The steps you take begin reflecting your genuine direction rather than someone else's idea of success. And that is often when wealth begins entering the picture in ways that feel almost natural. Not forced, not chased, but welcomed. It might arrive through a project that suddenly gains momentum, through a skill you developed quietly that now becomes valuable in ways you did not anticipate, through connections with people who recognize something authentic in you and feel drawn to collaborate or support the path you're building. And the interesting part is that when these things begin happening, they rarely feel overwhelming the way sudden change often does. Instead, they feel like pieces fitting together, as if life has been slowly arranging circumstances so that when the opportunity finally appears, you are not only ready for it, but able to recognize its value. This recognition is important because wealth without awareness can easily become distraction. But wealth that meets someone who's developed clarity becomes a tool for expansion. It allows you to explore ideas you once kept quiet. It gives you the freedom to invest time and energy into things that genuinely matter to you. It creates the space where your creativity, wisdom, and experience can begin shaping something meaningful in the world. And that is where the deeper meaning of abundance reveals itself. It is not just about gaining resources. It is about gaining the freedom to live with authenticity and purpose. To wake up each day knowing that the life you are building reflects the journey you have walked and the person you have become. And perhaps the most remarkable realization of all is that the wealth approaching you may not feel like a reward in the traditional sense. It may feel more like recognition. Recognition from life itself that you remained true to your growth even when it was difficult. Recognition that you continued learning when it would have been easier to give up. Recognition that you chose patience, reflection, and awareness over resentment and fear. Those choices matter more than we often realize. They shape the energy we carry. They influence the opportunities we notice. They quietly guide the direction our lives begin taking over time. So when the wealth you did not see coming finally begins revealing itself in your life, you may find yourself experiencing a feeling that is both humbling and empowering at the same time. Humbling because you realize how many unseen forces and quiet lessons help shape this moment. Empowering because you now understand that your growth was never meaningless. Every moment of patience, every decision to stay aligned with your values, every time you trusted your inner guidance even when the path ahead looked uncertain, all of it was quietly guiding you here, and now the next chapter is beginning to open, not loudly, not dramatically, but with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing that you are no longer the same person who once wondered if things would ever change. You have grown. You have become someone who can recognize the deeper rhythm of life, And because of that, the wealth that is finding you now will not simply change your circumstances. It will expand the life you are capable of creating, allowing you to move forward with a sense of direction, purpose, and calm assurance that everything you walked through had meaning, and everything arriving now is simply the next step in a journey that is still unfolding in ways even you are only beginning to understand. And perhaps the most beautiful part of all of this is realizing that nothing you experienced was wasted. Every quiet lesson, every unexpected delay, every moment when you felt unseen was slowly shaping the person you are today. The strength you carry now did not appear overnight. It was built through patience, reflection, and the courage to keep moving forward even when the path felt uncertain. And because of that, the wealth that is beginning to move toward you will not simply change your circumstances. It will meet a version of you who is finally ready to receive it with wisdom, balance, and clarity. So if you feel that subtle shift happening in your life right now, trust it. Sometimes the most meaningful blessings arrive quietly, finding the people who spent years preparing for something they could not yet see. And maybe, just maybe, the moment you have been unknowingly preparing for is closer than you think. If this message spoke to you, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to Born into Light for more reflections on spiritual growth, inner awakening, and the deeper journey we're all walking together. And remember this, the wealth you didn't see coming may already be on its way, gently finding the life that has been patiently waiting for it. If this message brought you a sense of clarity or peace, you're always welcome to stay connected by subscribing to Born into Light. And if this reflection resonated with your journey, a gentle like on the video helps these messages reach others who may need the same reminder today.